This is Senor Blues, a tune by Horace Silver, sometimes overlooked in kind of teaching situations. As an educator, you're always looking for tunes that can be kind of introductions to jazz to a student. And it's always the usual suspects, Watermelon Man, Cantaloupe Island. Don't get me wrong, I like those tunes. But as a teacher and also the students, we can get tired of those tunes. I think you agree. And this is a tune you can add to that list, Senor Blues. But it's a tune you can play at any level. The thing is, a beginner can kind of play blues and feel good, that you can actually play over it. It's not like giant steps. But we're going to talk about how to use melodic minor ideas over these chords. And I'm going to talk about the different aspects of this tune that I think are important. So let's get right into it, shall we? So the tune is very much, I think, based on the bass line, and the time signature, which is 6/8, so it's like an Afro-Cuban 6/8. Over an E flat minor 6/9 chord. So if you get that bass figure under your fingers, so it starts with the pickup, which is the fifth of the next bass note. So when we change chord to a B7, like a sharp 11, I'm gonna play a 13 chord, B13. I'm gonna have to play the last note of the previous bar. It's gonna be the fifth. And then the fifth of the next chord, which is again the E flat. So it's like a blues in E flat. Instead of going to the 4 chord, we're going to the flat 6, right? B flat, 13, A flat. Then one more time, so B7, E flat minor 6/9, B flat 13. So it's like a blues with a twist. It doesn't go to the 4 chord, it goes to the flat 6, and the tonic is always this minor 6 chord, which by the way, is the same voicing as an A flat 13. So those chords share the same notes and hence the same scale. We're going to talk about that later on. So if we do that with the bass line, so I'm going to use a 6/8 clave kind of rhythm here. Different ways you could do that. I'm going to use my tempo app metronome. If I set it just to 6/8, I get this. Which is how you feel 6/8 as in 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And starting with the pickup. messed up a little bit there, but it doesn't matter too much. That's the basic idea of the bass. And we should know the bass even if we're a guitar player. Sometimes the guitar player's job is to double the bass, and we need to understand the bass line, I think, here to understand the tune. But it's a 6/8 Afro-Cuban clave, which sounds like this. That's the clave that kind of is the underlying rhythm, the driving rhythm of the tune. And this is very common, of course, in jazz to feel everything in so-called Afro-Cuban clave. There are variations on this, and I have made a video where I go deeper into the idea of the clave, and I will link to that. But I also have an app, which I also talk about quite a lot in my videos, called Drum Genius. And there are many 6/8 Afro-Cuban grooves, like sample of drum loops that you can use to practice to get the proper feel. It actually happens to be the exact tune. So this is Louis Hayes is the drummer's name, I think, of Senor Blues. And here's a loop of that. So the rhythm, the comping rhythm is this. So how should you strum that? I think the best way to strum it is to, if you can, go down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. When you're playing 6/8, Afro-Cuban 6/8. Down, up, down, up, down. If you can get that working, so then it's down, up, down, 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 up, down, down. You could also do, because I feel this ultimately as triplets, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just notated in 6/8, but the way I think about it is like 4/4 and triplets. So a trick is to, when you have triplet subdivisions, is to start with an upstroke, because then you get the downstrokes on the 2 and 4. 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which then you can kind of accent. It's easier to accent and more natural to accent with a downstroke. So it's like when you play this kind of tune, right? I think, is it just called Jam? It's a tune by James Brown. Some people play it like that, like starting with an upstroke. Or you can go down, up, down, down, up, down, down. It's a little bit different depending on what feels most natural to you. And this also shows you how closely related all these genres are, like the funk and the jazz and the Afro-Cuban, all this stuff. All right, so let's look at the melody. I'm gonna play it down here, because I think it sounds good. We are often in the wrong octave as guitar players, because we read everything in the wrong octave. And we tend to play jazz tunes higher than we need to. And I think it sounds pretty good. Something I learned from Wes Montgomery, he often plays the tune in the low register. Well, it actually isn't that low because of the nature of the guitar, but anyway. So it's a little bit funny. A, B flat, A, G flat. And then we have the same melody, but the chord changes. This is the kind of thing where you have to kind of use your own kind of blues phrasing. Is it a bend? Or is it a half note in between there somewhere? Because you're supposed to land on that A. But you have to tweak that A a little bit, I think, to make it sound good. Those kinds of things are difficult to notate, right? Then there's another melody. And then the same. Also tweaking the, so it's like what you call a smear bend. It's not really going to another note, it's just kind of an inflection of the note. There are also harmonies here, but they don't make sense on the guitar. I couldn't make it sound good. It's more of a horn thing. But I want to look at one thing. Also, notice that it's 16th notes. You often hear people play that. But it's, right, so, the harmony goes like this. Check this out. The A belongs to the next chord. This is also something I talk about sometimes in my videos. The idea of anticipation and forward motion. It's like a pet phrase for jazz educators, forward motion. But that A, that note is the flat 5, that belongs to the next chord. But we are not on that chord yet. But the way we perceive music is like that. So we're kind of pushing the next phrase, kind of. This is another thing that the theory book won't explain properly. Most theory books won't. That if you're looking at those notes and try to analyze it over that chord, you will be like, wait, how does that work? But you're actually, Horace Silver is already on the next chord with those notes. Alright, so that was the iReal Pro. It doesn't have the bass line, of course. It's just a generic bass line that they always use for the same 6/8. And but it's pretty good. The good thing here is that we can change the tempo and remove the piano if you want to remove the drums or whatever. What I want to do is I want to play the scales. So I'm going to play E flat melodic minor over that chord. It could be Dorian, but we're gonna use melodic minor just for fun. And then I'm gonna play a B mixo Lydian flat 7. which is derived from F sharp melodic minor. So basically we're playing a melodic minor scale, a minor third up from where we started, right? But I'm thinking Lydian flat 7, and then B Lydian flat 7, or sorry, B flat Lydian flat 7, A flat Lydian flat 7, which is the same notes, they share the same notes as E flat melodic minor. Again, you could play Dorian, you could play Mixolydian scales, but we're gonna use melodic minor. And what I want to do, I want to play the clave rhythm, and here you can hear it. The right cymbal. I'm gonna play the scale, the melodic minor scales, using that rhythm, like this. One more time. Now let's play the scales just like triplets, like this. One more time. Don't forget that you can play blues over kind of the whole thing, which is when you get frustrated with the scales, just go blues. You could kind of do one chorus of this stuff, melodic minor stuff, and then one chorus of blues, just to keep yourself, you know, keep ideas fresh. You could practice this different ways. There's another way you could think of that next chord or scale, the B Lydian flat 7. You could think of that as a, what would it be, like a E flat or D sharp Locrian natural 9. So if I do that, it would sound like this, right? So instead of thinking of 7 new notes, it's just 2 notes changing, I think. The B flat turns into an A natural. And the C turns into a B. No, it's also the D. Yeah, there's 3 notes changing. Then if you watch my videos, you know there are things I like to do with these scales. I like to do thirds. So maybe let's do that. Chords. Every time I do this kind of stuff, I have to remind myself to practice this stuff more. It should be easy, right? But it's difficult. Of course, you could do fifths, sixths. You could also do one up, one down. See how I'm struggling? It should be like, it should just be like, but we're all struggling with this stuff. And let's do some triad pairings. I'm going to do a G flat augmented and an A flat. Those two triads create a nice sound over an E flat melodic minor. So I have made many videos on triad pairing or triad pairs, triad coupling. If you have no idea, the idea is to take two triads that don't share the same notes and combining them in different ways. For example, like this. To create kind of the sound of the scale or the chord. So let's try this. Now, of course, if you use Ibanez Pro, you can slow down the tempo too, or speed it up. Here we go, let's try this tempo. Just bear with me. There it is. So one of the reasons I make these videos is to kind of remind myself of what I need to practice, and this is supposed to be an easy tune, but you see how you can take an easy tune, supposedly easy tune, and just add ideas to it, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble. I made another video a while back, or maybe like 2 years ago or something, where I talk about triad pairing, combining them to create kind of arpeggios. So instead of going to the closest triad stepwise, I go to the closest triad from the note that I'm ending on, if that makes sense. So if I start on A flat, the closest note of the next triad is here. And all of a sudden I have more of an arpeggio. So I play a triad and then the next triad, and the same thing an octave higher. And then I find a way to go down. Then it would be starting on B. Let's try it. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Of course, there are tons of combinations, and there are many other triad pairings combinations you could use of these chords. I'm just giving you a basic idea of all the possibilities and how you can practice a tune like this. One more thing before I leave you, and that is to use pentatonics. Of these chords, I like to use a E flat minor 6 pentatonic, which is basically an E flat minor pentatonic. But the flat 7 is dropped to C, which gives you kind of a Santana, which means we're going to play an F sharp. You could think of that as a dominant scale too, if you start on a different note, if you start on the B. But I'd like to think of these scales as minor 6 pentatonics, and I have made videos where I talk about pentatonic scales too. So it would be like this. I'm just gonna play this scale up and down, like this, starting on the 11th fret. You could play one up and one down like this. One up, one down. Or then I'm just playing. So it's like I'm skipping one note, so like fourths, but not all of them are fourths. Or down. So those pentatonics are a very good way to kind of outline dominant chords like that. And yeah, that's all I had. All this stuff, these PDFs that I'm using here, I have created and I have put them on my Patreon page, and the tune and the bass line and all that stuff. So that was Senor Blues. I hope you enjoyed that tune. I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I shall see you next time.